Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frosty Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome into the LA Football Show right here on the LA Football Network, live on the mightier 1090 ESPN radio for all you drive time listeners. Thank you for making the show a part of your day. I am your host, Ryan Dyrud. Last show without my new co-host, Jamal the Madman Madney. He returns finally from his long honeymoon next week. Sounds like he's having an absolute blast. Him and his wife had this plan for a while, had to put it off because of COVID. So a much deserved honeymoon that they've been able to enjoy and do a lot of very cool things. But I'm happy to have him back next week. So this is the last time you'll have to listen to just me. And honestly, I just haven't recorded as much without him, just because I've kind of been awaiting his return. So but we'll have this show today. I have some good stuff to talk about. Actually, ironically enough, he jumped on the Bruin Bible with Will earlier this week for a very special guest. UCLA Bruins Athletic Director Martin Jarmond joined the show, and I'm going to have that for you right here at the bottom of the hour. Great interview the two of them do. I was kind of overseeing, help produce, but I wasn't actually asking questions. So you won't hear my voice at all, but the great Will and Jamal and Martin Jarmond, who I think is one of the best athletic directors. It's been a short time. Time will tell, but I think the football program's in the right direction. I think basketball is in the right direction. Obviously, he didn't hire either of those two coaches. He inherited both of them, but he's done things to instill those coaches. He's made the student athlete real again at UCLA. He's done great for branding. So we'll get all into that. I'll do a little recap after the interview as well. So that'll be at the bottom of the hour. Before that, I and my man Ryan Anderson, we're at OTAs again this week, like we were last week for the Rams. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll try to get into maybe a little Chargers news. They've been in OTAs as well. Unfortunately, we did not attend. That hopefully will change soon for us here at the LA Football Network. But, we have some updates still and some stuff we can talk about. So excited for the show. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to the LA Football Podcast. We are on every podcast platform. We're on YouTube at LAFB Network, or just listen on the website. Everything you need is on LAFBnetwork.com. If you want audio, you want video, you'll find all of our 11 other shows there as well. We're launching Sue Casa with Sua Cravens. I think next month, beginning of July, is we're going to launch his show. Super excited for it. He has merch up for that show. His shirt is, right online that you can purchase. It's a pretty cool shirt we designed. I'm pretty proud of it. So you can check that out. And speaking of merch, for the remainder of this week, if you listened to the show last week, we're doing a little, you call it a fundraiser, I guess, for the, horrible tragedy down in Texas for the Robb Elementary School. Obviously not for necessarily the victims, but the victim's family. And every piece of merchandise purchased on the LA Football Network, all the proceeds will be donated to a fund that goes directly to those families. So it's not enough. There's more we need to do. There's way more work to be done in our communities will we ever ensure this doesn't happen again? Probably not, but can we at least do things to get us in the right direction? Yes. And so this is not enough, but it's something at least we can tangibly do, I think, to show the families that, hey, our small, or not really that small, but our community out here in LA, the LA Football Network, we have your back. We're praying for you, but here's actually something to show that. It's not just, thoughts and prayers, like I know was a big talking point, which I'm not going to get into that, but at least we can tangibly show. So we've been doing that since last week, continuing through this week. Any merchandise purchase, we don't keep any profit. It's going to go straight to help the victims. You can also, so if you go to LAFBnetwork.com, go to the LAFB locker room, That's where you'll find the merchandise. Anything you purchase, it's valid for anything. Or if you're listening right here on radio or watching or listening on podcasts and just don't want to go search around the site for it, you can actually just text Help Rob. That's HELPROBB. There's 2 B's. Help Rob to the number 31032. So text Help Rob to 31032. You'll immediately just get the link right there that you can either purchase or donate from there. So would love your help and contributions, and just a small way we can help before doing more to better stuff in the future. Sponsor of today's show, as it's been for the last little bit here, our friends at Bet Online. Make sure to head to betonline.ag on your mobile or desktop and use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. I say it every time. I'll say it again. It's free money. Put in $100, you get $50 free to play with. It's a no-brainer. So if you haven't signed up yet, go to betonline.ag, promo code BELIEVE. We got the NBA Finals rocking. Game 1 just happened last night. Celtics with a big win. We got hockey playoffs going on. As we're live right now, recording, we got Tampa Bay and New York squaring off for Game 2. Last night, the Avalanche, my Avalanche, huge 4-0 victory to take a big 2-0 series lead over Edmonton. Not getting ahead of ourselves. Edmonton's a good, dangerous team, but I'm hopeful we can be playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I'm not going to say anything more than that. A lot of games left to play, a lot of stuff to prove. But anyway, you can bet on that. You can bet on the NBA Finals, or just bet on some future football stuff. If you're like me, like when I'm betting, I stick to football because that's what I know. And I know you won't see any money now because it's not in season. But hey, I'd rather bet on certain stuff coming up in the season that we can check out. So betonline.ag, promo code BELIEVE. Make sure to check that out. All right, so let's get into it. Rams OTAs up in beautiful Thousand Oaks, Cal Lutheran University, where the headquarters are up there. Blast being up there. Ryan and I, it's such an honor that we're getting this opportunity potentially to hopefully extend our relationship and credential access with the Rams. That's the hope. This was, we see it kind of as like a trial period, see how it goes, which I think it went very well. And hopefully we'll extend it. Hopefully there'll be a mini camp next week and on to the season. We already, like, as many of you know, we're at, a lot of UCLA events, a lot of USC events. And then now hopefully we can get into the Rams and the Chargers events as well, just to give you guys more access, more, information. We have all of our podcasts, all of our video, all of our audio, all of our digital content, and then we can just give you more access for that. But we had a blast up there. Beautiful day, hot day, early start time, 9:15 was OTAs. And I think by 10, it was in the high 80s. At least it felt. It was very warm. Probably if you're watching, you see I got a little color here. But good stuff. I mean, OTAs are, it's always, we talked last week. Ryan joined me on the show, and, it's really hard to really have any big takeaways, right? I mean, you're not in pads. So there's no contact there. Stafford's not throwing. He's doing the ghost reps, if you will, where they're doing reps. They still, if they're doing a running play, they'll hand the ball off. But if he's throwing it, he does if you were at training camp last year, maybe as a fan, you watched and got frustrated watching because you're like, man, I came here to watch some throws. And it's like, they'll do the drop back, they'll do all the plays. Then he'll just kind of like point where he would be throwing it. That's what's going on at OTAs for him anyway. So there's not a lot we can take away from him. Not that we need to. I mean, Dude played great last year. He's not injured at all. Super Bowl champion. But it'd be good to see like kind of Allen Robinson, how he's really acclimating into the system and stuff like that, which we can't really see just from, running routes with not getting passes. So, but overall, business as usual, like we talked about last week, a good majority of the starters are there. Obviously there are some are not. Aaron Donald's not there. Jalen Ramsey's not there. Ashawn Robinson hasn't been there. Cam Akers was there today, which was very good to see. And who else am I missing of it? Greg Gaines was not there last week, but he was there today. So good to see Greg Gaines there. All the offensive line has been there. Pretty much the entire offense has been there in general now that Cam Akers was there. Defensively, like I mentioned, no Jalen Ramsey, no Donald, no Ashawn Robinson, Leonard Floyd, who it kind of came to light. If you didn't hear, ended up having ankle surgery recently throughout the offseason, I guess he was battling through an ankle injury all season long, played through it. The warrior that he is. And so he wasn't at OTAs last week. And so we made a note of it. Again, I'll say it again. I've said it many times. Like, people that read into players not being at OTAs don't. There's not, it's organized team, or I think technically it's organized team activities, but it also can stand for optional team activities because it's an optional thing. Next week, mini camp is mandatory. So guys that don't show up for that, which I'm guessing Aaron Donald probably will not be that just because his contract is still kind of working through it. But that's where you can make a little more note. Kind of like Aaron Donald, I'm still not worried if he's not there next week. We'll get into that next week if that happens. But for instance, I wouldn't be worried for him. But some of the other guys maybe that aren't injured, if there's if A'Shawn Robinson doesn't show up, or if Cam Akers didn't show up, then that'd be a little more, what's going on here? Is this an excuse? Is like team excused? Or then it's a little more OTAs. Do not read into that at all. It's optional. It's great when you see the vets out here. Like, it's great seeing Stafford here every day, leading these guys. It's great seeing Cooper Kupp here every day, coaching up Allen Robinson, kind of teaching him the system, teaching him the nuances. But it's not concerning at all to me that Jalen Ramsey hasn't been there. It's not concerning at all to me that Aaron Donald hasn't been there. So I want to make that very clear, because a lot of people will look at, who was there and who wasn't there, and what's going on? Are they like, is Ramsey unhappy? It's like, no, he's probably just spending family time. Didn't have to be there yet, and I think he'll be there when he's mandatory to be there. So I like to mention that because I just think sometimes it gets overplayed. And again, next week is when we can kind of, okay, if there weren't some big names there, then we can kind of, okay, what's going on here? Maybe is there something here, or is it just 3-day mini camp? I'll just wait till training camp and show up hard there. Those, good to see Cam Akers there. One notable note, Kyren Williams, rookie running back, who last week it was just him and Jake Funk taking reps, and Raymond Calais, injured his foot. I still don't know if we got McVay did not interview or take questions at the end of practice today. I'm sure so. I probably need to look into it more, but I didn't hear the official what the injury was, but he was in a walking boot and he was on, a scooter. So that is definitely unfortunate. Not knowing that we didn't hear too much about it, I would say it's not like an ACL tear. Well, obviously not ACL. It was a walking boot, but not like an Achilles tear or a broken ankle. I assume it was something much more, precautionary, like maybe a bone spur or a bad sprain, or even a small light fracture that will, obviously cautiously, but he'll be ready to go by training camp. So I assume it's more so that. We will stay on that. I'll keep you posted on that and see what we know. But obviously it's a bummer to see that, a rookie that we're very excited about. I've said multiple times now since being drafted that I think the Rams are kind of in this situation where they're just going to draft a running back kind of every year. And it's just kind of rinse and repeat. And, Darrell Henderson's in his last year of his contract. He's out again still with the soft tissue injury. So I would not be shocked if, they let his contract expire after this year. And then they have Cam Akers, 2 years left. They drafted Jake Funk, and now they drafted Kyren Williams. They just kind of keep moving up. Kyren Williams is extremely talented, great in pass pro. So hopefully it's nothing serious and he'll be back on the field sooner rather than later. Speaking of Cam Akers, at one point took a knee, not anything, visible distress or anything that seems super serious, but you could hear Sean McVay giving him an emphatic instruction to slow down. Like, we're basically doing walkthroughs here. Like, take it easy. You never want to get mad at a guy for running full speed and putting his all out there. But the guy that, got injured last, it was training camp, but last off season, you don't want to see anything like that, any chances like that happen again, because I think he's going to be in a very important part to this offense. So it's kind of good to see Sean McVay pull him aside, say, dude, you got to slow it down. Let's take it easy. We're all out here just kind of getting mental reps in a sense. And I appreciate the effort, but we don't need that much effort to risk any injury for literally no reason. Like, no one's in pads. Like, So it was one of those points where you could hear McVay. He didn't kind of left the field for a little bit. Akers went to the side and then came back in the end for a little bit of, a few more reps to end off the practice. So, excuse me. But yeah, so that's kind of the running back updates there. Overall good. Receivers, again, Van Jefferson didn't really run with the team, but he was doing drills on the side. Doesn't seem to be really injury related necessarily, but maybe some lingering things or just wanted to get some different work in that he felt more valuable. Jordan Fuller and Jacob Harris kind of upgraded to doing some ladder drills on the side, which is a great sign to see as they continue their kind of rehab throughout this offseason, and hopefully they'll be ready to go. I wouldn't be shocked if they did something at minicamp, but I would assume they'll just wait and hold off till training camp. Just come back, make sure they're 100% ready to go. But, good to see the progression there. We mentioned the offensive line last week. Good amount of rotation there. Coach Carberry, let me talk about him for a minute. Dude, standing right there. I think we have a photo up on LAFB, or I definitely do on Twitter, but, you can kind of go wherever you want to on the field. And for most of it, though, I was standing like right where the offensive line is. Offensive line, defense line kind of rotate there because they're at the easy access point. Some of the other skill positions, you got to walk like all the way to the other end, and it's kind of like, should I go over there? So I was right by the offensive line. And Kevin Carberry, great coach, I think. I think that was a great hire for Sean McVay last year after the mutual split with Aaron Kromer. And, I think technically speaking, he's a good coach in that regard, obviously knowing what he's talking about, but just gets you fired up. And I was never really at practice to be able to hear Kromer, so I can't compare. Maybe he was the same way. I don't know. But Carberry just, he's got the, come on, get you fired. He's like an offensive line coach, right? He's what you want in an offensive line coach, getting guys fired up. And I think he did just that. And the offensive line, I think, is going to progress. We saw a nice heavy rotation, but still, I think at this point, from what we can deduce, again, no pads, no true blocking. So it really is all moot until training camp. But, you got your basically same starting five, I think, that we saw last week with Noteboom on the left, David Edwards as the left guard, Brian Allen as your center, Tremaine Ankrum probably as your right guard, and then Rob Havenstein as your right tackle. Logan Bruss, I know, draft pick, probably will end up getting that right guard spot, but they're working him at easy. It's, he's really just learning the playbook, learning this scheme, which is a very difficult offensive scheme. And so that is, again, no one needs to be concerned about that. We haven't even seen these guys hit anyone yet. So that's what we saw. Wouldn't take too much of it because a lot's going to change in that time. So last kind of thing I want to mention with this is looking at the edge rushers. And Ryan Anderson was able to interview Justin Hollins. He's going to have a piece up probably later this weekend, Monday at the latest, kind of just diving into Justin Hollins and a profile of him, but also just looking at this pass rushing unit. Now with Von Miller gone, what does this unit look like, and what can we kind of expect from this unit that last year flashed very good things? And then you add Von Miller because of the Justin Hollins injury, and it's like, okay, well, that's an upgrade, of course, right? Justin Hollins, if healthy, when healthy, was having a superb year last year. Never once am I going to compare this guy to Von Miller. Von Miller is a surefire Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. Still playing at an elite level in his early 30s. But Hollins is a guy that can definitely get after the quarterback. And if you have a nice rotation of Leonard Floyd, Justin Hollins, Terrell Lewis, and Chris Garrett, you have a pretty good foursome there that is extremely athletic, a lot of length. These are big, lanky guys. Justin Hollins is very tall. Leonard Floyd, we all know how long and lanky he is. Chris Garrett is molded very similar to Justin Hollins. Terrell Lewis probably is the least lanky of the bunch, but still a big dude, strong, powerful guy that if he can be healthy, and if you don't need to require a ton of reps out of him, then you can keep him healthy. So a lot of excitement there. The two starters with Floyd out, they were doing Lewis and Hollins on each side with Garrett rotating in. So that's what you can kind of expect kind of at this point moving forward. But obviously Floyd will be the starter when he's back. I would assume Hollins will be next to him, with then Garrett and Lewis rotating in. So those are some little takeaways. We have an article up on LAFB Network right now. You can go read. Ryan Anderson, great writer, obviously our Rams beat writer, wrote a little bit more in detail, a little bit more in depth, his takeaways of what we saw on Thursday and kind of what you can expect from minicamp next week as we get into the a little bit more intensity. Then you get a full kind of month off. It's gonna be real fun. No football for a month. And then we get into training camp. So we'll have a fun way to think of content after next week. But here we are. We got it. We got mini camp next week. OTAs wrapped up. Chargers also with mini camps. We'll have a lot more information on that. What's Justin Herbert looking like? What are these new rookies looking like? How JC Jackson's adapting? How Khalil Mack's adapting? So I know these last 2 episodes haven't been much Chargers, mainly just because we've been at Rams OTAs. But trust me, promise next week we'll get a lot more back into it. But I got to take a quick break here. But when we get back, Martin Jarmond of the UCLA Bruins. All right, welcome back to the LA Football Show right here on the LA Football Network, our city, our network. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Appreciate you sticking around. Just wrapped up some Rams talk from our coverage at OTAs this week. And now we're going to jump into some UCLA football. The great athletic director, Martin Jarmond, joined our Bruin Bible podcast with Will Decker and Jamal Madney, my co-host, but Jamal jumped in the show from his honeymoon. That's how important this guest was. He's like, I'm not missing it. He'll miss our show, which I get and I want him to. You can't miss Martin Jarmond. So they do a great interview here, which I wanted to play for you guys because even if you're not a UCLA fan, say you're listening and you're a Trojans fan or just not a college football fan, but I think what Jarmond is doing for UCLA athletics is it's extremely fun to watch. It's very creative. It's a new thinking approach as opposed to nothing against Guerrero, the former AD who did some great things in his long tenure, but it's just kind of a shift in difference now because it's a younger thought, it's a new era, all that. So they're going to get into all that right now. So let's just jump into it. So here is the great UCLA Athletic Director, Martin Jarmond. Hope you guys enjoy.
What is up, and welcome to the Bruin Bible. Your host, Will Decker, here with your co-host, Jamal Madney. We have a very, very special guest in the house. The guy listed below me as MJ himself, Mr. Martin Jarmond, the athletic director for your UCLA Bruins. Martin, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend?
Will, Jamal, good to have me on. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing great. It's Tuesday. It's sunny, and we're getting closer to graduation next week, so all is well in Westwood.
Shout out UCLA softball being in the College World Series. Some big stuff going on there. Martin, we got some questions across the board to talk to you about, but first I kind of want to start with your background within the sports world. And I know you were a player at UNC Wilmington. You kind of took that and you worked at Michigan State as an assistant AD. You went to Ohio State, then you went to BC and now UCLA. I want to know why you wanted to become a leader within the college sports world and what kind of drove that passion to get to where you are today.
I had a great experience as a student athlete at UNC Wilmington. That was the foundation, ups and downs, not playing as much as you think you should and balancing everything. I just had a great support system in my coaches and staff and athletics. And so it meant so much to me that I wanted to give back and do the same thing for young people because I had a great experience that shaped me a lot. So that was the reason why I wanted to go into college athletics. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but knew I wanted to be in that environment to help shape young people.
Man, great answer off the top. We're gonna pivot off to some football questions that we got for you, man. We're approaching.
I didn't know you were going to do that.
I mean, LA Football Network, who would have thought on that front? Chip Kelly, I think, it was a lot of talk going on whether he should come back or not. We are a Pro Chip Kelly podcast. We're very grateful that he is coming back to UCLA. What in your mind, aligned him to come back and be, the man in charge for the next 2 years after his latest extension?
Well, first of all, it's a 4-year extension, so he's going to be a lot longer than 2 years. And the other, there was never a question to me about, maybe that was talk that I'm not familiar with, but for me, you know, Chip has done a tremendous job with growing and building the program. You know, I came in and I look forward. You know, you don't get marked on what you did years ago. You get marked on what you're doing now and what you do moving forward. And if you look at what he's done, he's really built the program, and now we're on an upward trajectory with his leadership and going through a challenging time with COVID and all of that. But I mean, last year, 8-4, and the type of games that we won in the big games. We had College Game Day here, but you also saw a team that developed, you know, and now you're sending, you know, 6 or 7 draft picks. I mean, that's top 10 in the country. So the trajectory and all signs are pointing to positive, and that's under Chip Kelly's leadership. So that was never a question for me. I'm excited that he's with us and what he's doing, you know, because in these chaotic times in college football, especially, you know, you want a leader and you want someone that understands, that has been there, that's done that, and is a teacher and a motivator. And Chip does that. He's an innovator too. I mean, everybody knows how talented he is offensively, but he's a talented leader, period. I mean, just overseeing the whole program. And if you talk to the student athletes, which we do all the time, especially at the end of the year, they talk about just their growth and development and how much they love this program, and transfers coming in. You know, it's a new day and age with transfers now being able to transfer immediately. I like to talk to some of the transfers that have come from other big places. You know, Notre Dame, Alabama, Duke. Obviously, we've had some transfers from big places. Obi from Stanford. And I mean, Obi would tell me, like, this is the best place he's been, you know, as far as how we treat the players and just the coaching that they get in the direction. So that's really all positive, and that's a credit to Chip. So I love working with Chip. He understands it. He gets it. And I'm excited about what we're going to do this upcoming year.
MJ, that's fantastic. And you know, kind of segueing a little bit off of the on the field and the coaching aspect, obviously so much has changed paradigm-wise in the sport. You mentioned the transfer portal, and then of course we've got things like NIL, name, image, and likeness. I know that UCLA has been really at the forefront of innovation around NIL with the Westwood Exchange, and maybe you can talk about that, as well as some of your other specific plans around partnerships, alumni engagement, and how do you see NIL as a differentiator for UCLA football moving forward?
Well, name, image, and likeness has been something we've always been supportive of. You know, I've been on the record of being supportive of name, image, and likeness even before it was happening. And at UCLA, you know, obviously we want to be leaders. You know, we don't have to be the first at something. And anytime you have a new environment, whether it's transfers or NIL, you know, you want to learn. You don't want to be too fast, because to me, I want to see what others are doing, see what mistakes are made, try to avoid some of those pitfalls. But then once we go, we're going to go hard. We're going to go strong. And that's what we did with Westwood Exchange. You know, we have a platform that allows donors, companies, alumni. It could be the LA Football Network even to come on this platform. Student athletes.
We're on.
That's right. That's right. You can get some of our guys right now and gals right now and connect directly. And what it does is it lets you do the deal right there on the platform, and then it produces a 1099. It reports to our compliance. So it just handles it and makes it kind of easy to connect. And we do that, and we offer that for all of our student athletes that want to opt in. So that's something that was big for us. I know in the first month we had over, I want to say 70 companies and individuals, which was probably top 3 or 4 in the country as far as those that have a program like this. So that just shows the background and the alumni support and the community business engagement that we have behind UCLA, which is huge. And that's an asset. The best thing about UCLA is the people. And we have some great people, great alumni, great companies that are associated or run by Bruins. And so that's something we got to tap into and leverage. And we're still figuring some of that out. But we were strong out of the gates, and we want to be an innovator here. And some of that is kind of learning exactly what's the NCAA going to do and how this rolls out. You know, anytime you have something new, there's going to be a learning curve. And I think for student athletes, for administrators, for coaches, we're all still learning and growing, but we're doing it together. And that's one thing that we're talking to our student athletes and kind of trying to see where the gaps are as far as education. We partner with the law school So our student athletes can get free legal counsel from law students, which is great. So it's, again, partnering with the assets that we have here on campus. We partnered with the Anderson School of Management as far as business and contract. So we're trying to provide resources for our student athletes, and then we're going to get some feedback. And there might be gaps where, like, hey, we need to be learning about this, or we should be doing this, or what about this? We're going to get that feedback this summer, and then we're going to come back in the fall and try to address those things to provide our student athletes with the resources they need to take advantage of name, image, and likeness, because this is their time to shine. So we want to do everything we can to help them.
MJ, that's terrific to hear. And, it's always so refreshing. You have been such a remarkable leader, not just in the athletic department, but just in the community. And your social media presence is just infectious. And, we just sort of love watching you and sort of seeing you interact with social media. MJ, I think you have a very unique job in the landscape of college football and college.
That's a nice way of putting it, unique.
UCLA, MJ, is a special place. I mean, obviously, in terms from an academic perspective, medical ecosystem, the soul for social justice. It's a very complex political infrastructure with the regions, the state. Given all of those sort of considerations, what does success look like on the field, kind of tangibly, with UCLA football? What's sort of the consistent win total, or what are the consistent outcomes that you want to see at UCLA where you say, I'm doing my job, I feel like I'm really sort of hitting the peak of what my vision is?
As the athletic director, you want to provide the resources and support for your coaches to lead. That's the primary job. Our focus is always the student athlete experience. And first and foremost, that's what I look at. What kind of experience are our young men having on the football team, for example, and making sure that is the best that we can possibly give and provide. After that, I don't look at any sport as like wins and losses. This is success. I really don't. I believe in every day. We talk about elite here. You see that on our email signatures. I've talked about elite: energy, leadership, integrity, toughness, excellence. And that's a mindset. That's not wins and losses. That's every day I'm going to give you what I got. And that's having an elite mindset. And that's kind of what I measure. That's what I look at. So I don't have a certain number, Jamal, that you try to say, hey, at the beginning of the year or anything. I just want us to get better, and I want us to provide our student athletes a great experience, and I want to win. They want to win. They come to UCLA to win. So we want to win just as much as anybody. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to play hard and let the chips fall where they may. But I look at the overall experience for the student athlete as far as how I gauge success, because I don't care how many games you win, wins and losses come and go. But that experience of while they're here in Westwood, and what was that like, and how did that mold them and shape them, and what kind of person are they when they leave here? That's the most important thing. That's the thing that I don't lose sleep over. That is what we provide them and the experience that we give our students.
I love it, man. And, one big change that the athletic department did make in this past 18 months is we pivoted to the Jordan brand. And that is such a very cool looking brand. I know you're a basketball player, Martin. I was wearing the Jordan shoes growing up just because I love them. I still have my ones in my closet to this day.
Woo!
How did this MJ get connected to that MJ down in North Carolina? Because you guys are both North Carolina boys as well.
Well, what's funny is MJ was like the last piece of agreeing to become Jordan brand school. So they all go through him. And so when we were kind of in the final stages, and for us, it was really important to be a Jordan brand school, because that was going to differentiate us. And that's what the kids love. That's what our young people, Jordan is hot. That's fire, right? That's whatever, drip, whatever you want to say, right? And so that was important to us. And as we were going back and forth with Nike, it got to a point where it's like, okay, we got to ask MJ and see how he is. And then it was like, I think he was on the golf course for a week or something, and it was just like, it was like waiting to hear back if he was good with it or not. And that was like music to my ears when Nike let me know that Michael was good with UCLA and wanted to partner with us. It was like, game on, man. Like, let's go. So that was exciting. But he has to be on board. But if he ain't on board, it ain't happening. So I'm just glad that he was on board.
I got to ask, do you still get starstruck talking to like Michael Jordan? Because I know you're an athletic director, you're making communications with everyone around. MJ to me, like that is my like sports idol right there. So
I didn't get to talk to him. I've never talked to him. So let me be clear. I was working through Nike, talking to him, and vice versa. Like that, I never got to talk to him. But I tell you, UCLA, we've got so many legends that you do. Yeah. Kareem, like Andy Myers-Drysdale texts me sometimes, and I'm just like, every time she texts me, I'm just like geeked out, like, oh my God, and she'll text. We'll text during a game sometimes too. So, but that's just UCLA. That's what's cool about it is there's so many people. Russ, Kevin Love, like, yeah. I mean, I don't want to forget anybody. So, but you know what I mean. Like, there's so many. Eric Hendricks, like, there's so many people that that I've communicated with or talked to that you're just like, whoa, Kareem, whoa, it's like. So it's cool. It's cool. That's a UCLA thing that's really distinctive about UCLA.
Well, Martin, so many UCLA legends.
UCLA is, one of the things you mentioned about this great lineage, and it's so great to sort of hear that, we've done so many firsts at UCLA, right from, I'm so happy you mentioned Ann Myers-Drysdale and Jackie Robinson and on the list goes. There's two guys kind of on the contemporary team, MJ, that we sort of hope to see as that next lineage of leader. And both of them chose to come back. Dorian, obviously, with an opportunity to go pro, decided he wanted to come back to really put a stamp on his legacy at UCLA, it felt like. And then the other one was Zach. I mean, the opportunity, especially as a running back, MJ, the shelf life being what it is, I thought it just spoke volumes that he wanted to come back for the UCLA experience. Can you speak about those two gentlemen in particular and what they've meant to the program and what you sort of expect from them moving forward?
Well, both of those young men are exceptional. I mean, you know that. I can't say enough. I mean, Dorian, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But again, Dorian can do anything on the field. He has that kind of talent level. But what I've been fortunate to see is just his growth and maturation as a leader, as a person, how he leads others, how he takes care of people, how he thinks about the greater good. And that's what's going to make him great in whatever he does after the football stops for him, whenever that is. But everybody sees his talent. I mean, he can single-handedly do things that you're just like, oh my God, how did that happen, right? I mean, I'm thinking about the SC game last year. Like he was making plays left and right all the time. But it's really the kind of person he has become and just how he goes about his business. You talk about an elite mindset, he's got that. And so that's really cool for me to see and be a part of and just try to help him reach his goals and everything that he wants to be, not just on the football field, but I'm really talking about off the field. And Zach, Zach is unbelievable. He's a quiet, humble gentleman, but he's a beast on the field, right? But he's just the nicest guy off of it. And, I love seeing someone like him that went away and came back home. And it worked out. It worked out for him. It's worked out for UCLA. And that's what it's about because, everybody's journey looks different. And Zach is a testament that, you know what, you may go this way and it doesn't work out, or you may have to come that way and you can still be better for it. Johnny Juzang, you saw that with him. Yeah. I was so happy to see how his college career played out because that shows that you can always come home or you can have a different path and it looked even better than what you imagined. And Zach, he's the best running back in the country. I think, I'm hoping that we get some better game times this year because, East Coast needs to see him, man. He can go. And Dorian and him both, that 1-2 punch, I'll put those two up against anybody in the country, but they're better people than they are football players by far. And I'm not just saying that. If you spend time around them, those are great dudes.
Well, Martin, we've got to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for coming on. We can say it was such a big thrill for us to get the legendary new UCLA AD. We've been mentioning all these legends. We got the newest legend in the house, man.
I'm not legendary yet, man.
Hey, legendary status is coming for my guy MJ down there. We are so thrilled to have you, my man. Thank you so much for coming on the LA Football Network.
Thanks for having me, Jamal. Take it easy.
most part.
Go Bruins.
Huge thank you to Martin Jarmond and the UCLA Athletic Department for setting that interview up. What an honor to have him on the LA Football Network. Huge honor for us. Great job to Will and Jamal for conducting a great interview, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed that. You can see, right? You can see the thinking he has, the passion he has, the sports knowledge, but also kind of the business acumen, but also the swag, right? A lot of ADs are, older. This is not me saying anything bad about it whatsoever, but it's an older, so they have an older thinking. They think the way that maybe if you have an AD that's been doing the same role for 20 years, they have a hard time thinking differently. Where Jarmon really embraces the student athlete today and the style of not just player, but person that these student athletes are, what they're into, their hobbies, their interests. And he's kind of bringing that swag to UCLA in that, they talked about in the interview with the Air Jordan brand partnership, like huge get there. Like Michael Jordan has to approve you to get that partnership. And he approved Martin Jarmond and UCLA just showing Jumpman. I think I said Air Jordan. That's like similar, I guess, same thing almost, but Jumpman is the official brand there. So huge guy. I love what he's doing at UCLA. Just love the passion, seeing him at every game, seeing what he's doing on social media. So now we just need to continue seeing it translate to wins like we did last year with UCLA basketball having a successful season, with UCLA football program having their best year in 5 or 6 seasons. So now we just need to keep stacking that and seeing how we can continue to get better and better and better. So hope you guys enjoyed. That's going to be all the time I have. This is the LA Football Show. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Find me on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. Make sure to follow the show anywhere you get your podcast, on YouTube at LAFB Network, or, of course, on LAFBnetwork.com. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll be back next week. Jamal will be back with me. Can't wait. Got some good stuff for you. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy. I'm out. Peace.